Welcome. This is the Ag Engineering Podcast, where we talk tools, tips, and techniques to improve the sustainability of your farm. I am your host, Andy Chamberlain from the University of Vermont Extension, and this podcast is supported by Northeast SARE, providing grants and education to advance innovation in sustainable agriculture. We're trying to improve the industry by chatting with farmers and getting their input on tools, tips, or techniques that have changed the way they farm for good. Many of these practices affect multiple areas of the farm. Whether it be environmentally, emotionally, physically, or financially, we share the knowledge to promote sustainable agriculture, lifestyle, and business. Thanks for having a listen. Now, let's get started. Today's episode comes to you from Middlesex, Vermont, where we talk with Patrick Sullivan of Ananda Gardens. He and his wife have been farming the last 5 years, and they're growing 1.5 acres with about a quarter under high tunnels. They're in Zone 4, just outside of Montpelier, Vermont, and their markets are 150-member CSA. Last year, they were over 50% restaurants and wholesale markets, but that pivoted this year and is only about 25% of their business. This year, their gross sales are looking to hit just about $175,000. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for having me.
So if you could describe your farm in one sentence, what would you say?
Vermont's Wellness Farm. That's our motto, producing healthy food and living soil for our community. And we also, we also say that we produce, the same food that we grow to feed our kids and our family. We produce that for our community. So that's a huge motivator to to produce really healthy food, something that we feel comfortable feeding to our family. That same quality goes out to our community, to our customers.
That's a good motto to have for sure. Previously, we had you on and you talked about how you used compost on your farm and got a really high value of production out of that. So if listeners haven't checked out the last episode with Patrick, I recommend you do so because he's got his systems dialed in, and I've been to the farm. It's very clean and productive and impressive. So it's a great episode there, and you should check that one out. But today's episode, we wanted to learn a little bit about Patrick and his farm and get into a little bit more details about him. So first question here today is if you could tell me a little bit about a time when you felt really successful farming.
Sure, Andy. I would say it's a little sensitive because I know this year has been a really hard year for a lot of people. A lot of businesses have not been successful. A lot of restaurants have had to close. But I think for us, this spring and this year has been a time when we felt really successful. So I say that, humbly, but we were really able to take advantage of the opportunity in the spring when people, there was already a certain level of consciousness around healthy local food, but that was really catapulted forward through the COVID pandemic. A lot of people started reaching out to us. I mean, in a way that we had never experienced before. So I would have to say that this spring and specifically this year is a time that we felt really successful. We've been, I think in our 5th year now, we've really been building all the systems to be able to make a jump this year. And so it's a lot of back work. It's not, we didn't just start our farm this year and then kind of create a successful farm in 1 year. It was really the work of the last 5 years. But this year, for example, we were hearing so much from community in a way that was really unprecedented. People just contacting us all hours of the day, asking how they could get fresh produce, from the middle of March on. And so we launched a spring CSA, which we hadn't done before. We worked with another local farm who produces a lot of storage crops that we really like. And so brought their potatoes in and then offered a bunch of our greens, worked with a baker who we've been working with for a year and offered bread, and put together just a simple and a weekly share, offered it to our community, and we sold out in 2 hours, which over the last 4 years, sometimes getting new CSA members has been like pulling teeth. We do everything we can. We market in every way we can, and we have, little by little grown our farm. So kind of overnight to have a situation where we're really, um, yeah, I wouldn't say yes. Well, we were kind of doing everything we could on the back end to meet the need is a really different scenario for us. So we were able to take that and more than double our summer CSA numbers. We were able to kind of hit the ground running, so to speak, from all the things that we've been doing over the last years to double our production, even a little bit more than double our production, um, and grow our CSA to a level that now we feel like we're, financially sound, we're financially sustainable, which is just, yeah, for us is it feels like a huge success.
Do you think you're gonna retain those customers that you picked up this year?
We are cautiously optimistic. Um, yeah, I mean the economy is definitely, uh, it's like we never know, and something could happen. Just as something happened this year and really propelled us forward. I mean, something could always happen, and people couldn't, there's maybe people couldn't afford to purchase a CSA, and we can't really go down on our price because we're already offering, yeah, a competitive price for what we do. Our profit margin isn't gigantic, so we can't kind of make our product cheaper paying the amount that we're paying for farm help for our supplies. So we think we can maintain the same numbers. Our goal is to maintain the same numbers this coming year as we did this year. We'll increase our spring CSA a bit because we now have done it 1 year and we know that it can work. We just put up another greenhouse, so we'll have some more capacity to produce screens, a lot of the things that'll go in that share. Another thing that I wanted to mention that happened this year of why we felt successful is that we were really able to invest a lot in the farm. So with kind of the increased numbers, we were able to hire some more help, which was huge for getting projects done that coming into this year we didn't have even on the radar. We accomplished some projects this year that we thought were like 5 years down the road. So that just feels like a huge success for us. We were able to put up a deer fence around 8 acres of our property. We were able to
Wow.
put up this third big greenhouse to increase our capacity. And we were able to continue working on our wash pack station. We were able to purchase a delivery van. So for the last 4 years, we've been using the family car to do all our deliveries. And my wife knew more than anything, more than I did. She really realized that was a risk. If something happened to that car and our family got left without a car. This year, we've always done our deliveries, and this year we hired help. So to have someone else driving the family car was a certain liability. So it was a stretch in the spring, but we decided to purchase a small Nissan cargo van, and that was just a great decision to have a separate delivery vehicle. That also, along with the deer fence, those two projects just weren't they weren't even in the realm of possibilities when 2020 started. So we're really grateful we were able to do them, and we think going forward that we'll maintain the same numbers, but we will not be making so many investments in one year. Hopefully, again on the farm for a while. So we'll try and maintain what we have going in a sense.
Did you have to take out a loan to cover some of those projects to kind of make those investments to propel your farm forward, or was that supported by the early CSA membership increase?
So the van and the deer fence we were able to pay kind of out of pocket, and this greenhouse we have a line of credit that we paid off in the spring, and so we just took that out again to cover a good chunk of the greenhouse. So then we'll have to pay that line of credit back this coming year. But yeah, the majority of it we were able to cover with our cash flow. The improvements in our wash station and our wash pack station, we were able to do some of that with cash that we had on hand, and some of that came from a grant through NOFA for the farmer of the month. Every month they pick a farm, and it's a nice, really helpful chunk of money to advance in a project. So we use that to electrify our barn, get some of the drainage issues solved that we had, and put water right into our wash pack area. But that said, we are stretched thin now. So it's December 3rd, and we're really grateful that we've done all these projects, but it's also left us in a more vulnerable position going into winter than we would like. But we have more confidence that we'll be able to keep our cash flow going. We have more confidence in our earning potential than even we did a year ago.
Long-term benefits that are just going to multiply your production and your efficiencies and all that.
Yeah, correct. We were really scrambling in the spring, that we more than doubled our CSA to plant all of the summer crops in our greenhouses. We were really, really tight on space. So having another greenhouse will, I believe, allow us to not only have more spring, fall, and winter sales, but also just offer, more tomatoes, more peppers, more crops that people really love in the summer share.
Thinking back to March when everything felt uncertain, I'm sure you didn't just grab the bull by the horns immediately as the world was seemingly falling apart. Uh, what were you thinking back then, mid March, and how did you come to the mindset that you needed to pivot? Were people coming to you first, so you realized you needed to increase that CSA, or were you kind of scratching your head on figuring out how you could change up the business this year?
Well, that's a really good question. It definitely started with people coming to us. We just had, as I mentioned, such a demand that we realized that there was an opportunity for us to provide something that our community really needed in a different capacity than we had been. So as soon as we saw that need, we looked at what we could do production-wise and what we felt comfortable with. And before we knew it, we were at that mark, and more people kept on reaching out to us. So that number kept on shifting with, at first, last winter when we made our projections for what our summer CSA could and would be in 2020 this year, I really wanted to get to 90 CSA members. And my wife, we had been at 55 to 60 range, and she knew that, the rate we've been growing, it would be really hard. She's really good at marketing, has a lot of experience, and kind of recognized that it would be hard to get to 90, and we should be a little more cautious in our projections. And then before we knew it, and probably beginning of April, we were already at 100 members, which was the upper range of what I felt comfortable with production wise. But then we were able to bring another person on our team who we already knew, who we know is just incredibly capable. And that, I think, shifted our mentality a little bit. And we also looked at, we had already had some fields that had been cover cropped for a few years. So we knew we could expand into those. And that number kept growing. I think we went to 120 and then realized that, woof, we had still 20 plus people on the waiting list. And okay, kind of every week, once things were rolling and we were starting to plant more, I would think, okay, we can take 10 or 20 more people. And so that's how we got up to just about 150 CSA members. But it wasn't overnight. It took me a little bit of time to feel comfortable with. Yeah, just knowing, having the confidence that we could do it. Because I also, I didn't want to take too much on and really shoot ourselves in the foot, because knowing that it was a really great chance for us to get our farm to where it needed to be, to where it needs to be, but also if we didn't do a good job, we could really be hurting our future possibilities. So I was taking more on as we just really felt confident that we could do a good job.
Yeah, there's a lot of risk there and a whole lot of leaps forward on your farm this year. Like you said, those 4 projects between the just expanding production and putting up a greenhouse and the deer fence and the wash pack, like you had a ton going on. So that's like so much to take on in 2020 on top of all the other stresses and things going on. That is
I
insane.
should I should definitely mention that, without a really great crew and team, we would have never even dreamed of doing this. We've had a brother and sister this was their 4th year working with us. I had a really good friend who is training to be an electrician, and the restaurant where he was managing closed. So he was able to come and be on our team full time until mid July. And then we also hired someone from a restaurant who had to close during the pandemic, who also had a lot of experience, working on a line uh, where there's a certain pressure and a certain speed. So I was able to kind of leave the farm quite a bit and manage these projects, and they were able to really do a great job with maintaining the production, and especially in the times where we were really critically making these projects happen, they were able to do a lot of the harvesting, and we could just had a team that we could trust, that we knew they were gonna help us get it done. So without their help, no way that we would have taken it on. So that's been a really critical part. And I mentioned that, yeah, just getting, working, we really worked up to this. So we had already put a lot of energy and resources into our wash pack station. We already had 2 really large greenhouses. So there was, and we already had our systems. Like, we didn't change practically anything about the way we were growing this year. So I think that really helped,
Yeah.
just having those systems in place and then being able to kind of rocket forward with, not needing to invent a bunch.
Right. You weren't trialing new systems, you were just increasing what you're doing with them.
Correct.
Now, still though, that's a big leap to increasing that much volume of product and that many more customers. That's a whole lot more planning. Did you have any hiccups or shortfalls in your crop plan
So
throughout the
the
season?
first round of things that we had planted in early to mid March, we were a little tight on. So the first week or 2 of the CSA, the bag was smaller than it was the rest of the year. I think 1 or 2 people reached out with concern the first week or 2 of like, hey, this doesn't seem like very much broccoli. Um, but then once the second round of things kicked in and we were harvesting, which happens pretty quickly in the spring, just because of the sunlight. Think crops catch up. We had plenty because we kind of doubled the volume that we were doing as soon as we saw that need. As soon as we saw that need and that chance for us to kind of more than double our volume, we were doubling all the production and confident from what we had been producing that our numbers were good of how much we could harvest off of a bed and things like that. After those first couple weeks, we were really fine, and we had some crops that did not do as well this year as they have in the past. We've always had really great peppers. Greenhouse peppers have been an awesome crop for us, and we really had a tough time with them this year. They just didn't produce nearly what they usually do. So even with a couple crops that didn't do as well as we had hoped or expected, we were still able to offer a great CSA. And again, that comes back to like thanking our team that they really stepped up. And the planning work that we had done had been, close enough that we were able to offer a great product. And so I think that'll help us retain a lot of our customers.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty successful year, even after a bit of a rough first impression, maybe as bags weren't quite so full to all those new customers. But that's good that you're able to recover and fill those up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and they were the couple people who had concern were new. So the folks who had been CSA members for years, they knew more what to expect. And just immediately addressing those concerns and talking with them, and then they finished the season really happy customers. So rather than ignoring it, we reach right out to them and make any changes, send them double, more the next week to make up for what their feeling was about the previous week, and they turn out to be happy customers. We really, we noticed this year that it's a sensitive year because so many people have lost their jobs because the pandemic has been an added stress on everyone's life. We did really try and fill the bags as much as we could. So going forward in the season, just knowing that more people are cooking at home this year than ever before, knowing that people could really use the extra produce. In the past, we've been cautious to not fill the bags too much because, we've heard and gotten feedback that the minute CSA members start throwing away food, they're not going to do a CSA the next year. So we've really tried to make a balance of not giving people too much food. And this year, I would say we definitely erred on the side of giving people more, knowing that, it was something that we could do with our work to help families through a challenging year for everyone.
Well, thanks for sharing how this year was successful for you. I mean, like you said, it's been a sensitive year for some, but to hear a success story and to see how making these investments and setting up your farm and your practices like over the course of 3, 4, 5 years, like finally enables your business to get some traction. And it's really great to hear that. And I appreciate you sharing a great example and a positive outcome, especially as we wrap up 2020 here.
Sure. Well, thanks for asking. And it has been a good amount of risk over the last 4 or 5 years setting up our farm, and believing that it would work out has always needed to be a reality for us and all the people who help us. So to finally feel like we're really charging in that direction has been a great success this year. I think it's just really important that that we were able to do that because we had an awesome support network. We had an awesome community and an awesome crew, and that's how we were able to fill this need and take our farm forward. Without help, without that help, we wouldn't have been able to do that.
If people want to find and follow along with you or reach out with questions, how can they do that?
Oh, through our website, anandagardens.com. Our emails are on there, and yeah, we're not big social media. We're not really tapped into social media, so I think following us on our website or email or giving us a call is the best way to reach out.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you learned something today or plan to make a change on your farm, let me know. I'd love to receive any feedback you have. Just click the link in the description to submit the form. It will help the future of this podcast to be a resource that is helpful for you. And while you're at it, I hope you go ahead and subscribe, share this with a friend, or leave a comment. And if you want more information, check out the show notes on our website at agengpodcast.com. That's agengpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great day.
The proceeding has been a production of University of Vermont Extension. For more information on Extension, log on to www.uvm.edu/extension.